Max coming off that hand injury, so we had to basically just kind of enter camp, you know what I mean, and ramp up. And so Max is just like straight into the fire, you know what I mean. So everything's been kind of 100 miles an hour, full speed ahead. The fire is very, very hot, but so far he's handling it. The second week's gone really well. I like all the adjustments he's made. I like how he's recognizing a lot of important things that they've been working on and pointing out. The adjustment from week 1 to week 2, it's really big, really big. I didn't expect it to be this dramatic. Well, the only thing for the game.
I've been in the UFC for 14 years now, man, and I've been top 5 in the world for quite some time now. You know, I've been, ever since I got into the pound for pound rank, I never felt out of it. It's just taking the information, man, like surgeries, recovery, so much things now. It's so advanced now, you know. I know someone who hurt the ACL and like they're you know, it's been like 2 months, 3 months and they're walking on it already. They took off the brace, which is crazy, you know. Before we'd see NFL stars, superstars decades ago hurt the ACL and they're gone for a year, never really can get back. So, but just the science and the information that we have now, it's so much advanced, you know, and that's how you stay at the top of the game. Like I said, man, like what we've been talking about, I learned a lot about my body over the years. Like I said, when I was young, I could recover taking nothing. The guy's a well-rounded fighter, you know. I think a lot of people look at him and call him a jiu-jitsu guy because of his finishes. Most of his finishes is with submissions, but that guy's hurting people on the feet, you know. He's ground and pounding people, so the dude is just a dangerous man, you know, and those kind of things, when I think about it, brings a smile to my face, you know. These are the kind of people I want to beat. I want to beat the best guys in the world, and he's considered one of the best guys in the world right now, so like I said, I'm on my way to an undisputed title, and he's just another man in the way. I mean, you know, against Charles Oliveira, you know, you gotta keep your mistakes to a minimum, to be honest. I mean, at anybody at this level, you need to keep your mistakes at a minimum. You know, it's we're dangerous people, especially when you get to these top 5 guys, man. They always find a way.
Max Holloway isn't just training for Charles Oliveira anymore. He's transformed into something completely different, and what I'm seeing from his camp footage is honestly terrifying for anyone in that lightweight division. This isn't your typical pre-fight preparation where fighters go through the motions and show up for a paycheck. Max looks like a man possessed, laser-focused with this almost scary intensity that tells you everything about what's really at stake here. And here's what nobody's talking about. This fight isn't just about the BMF belt or settling some old score. Max is using Charles Oliveira as his statement piece to the entire MMA world. He's basically saying, I'm still that guy, I'm still elite, and I'm coming for everything. The energy coming out of his camp suggests this isn't just another fight for Max. This is his declaration of war on the entire lightweight division.
Troll him and submit him, especially in his recent run. You know, you're not really seeing that happen to him since he lost to fucking Dustin Poirier way back in the day via submission. So I think Max Holloway does win this fight. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. I think it's going to be a back and forth exciting fight. And because it has the BMF belt attached, it doesn't matter what happens in this fight. If it goes to a decision, Dana's going to give both these guys a bonus and people are going to say it's the greatest fight of all time. I'm super excited for this though. I do think it'll be good. I do want this to be a bang.
But here's where it gets absolutely wild. Max has been incredibly vocal about his master plan, and this Oliveira fight isn't some random detour or cash grab. This is chess, not checkers. While other fighters get distracted chasing viral moments or gimmick belts, Max sees the bigger picture. Every single interview, every statement he makes keeps circling back to one thing, that undisputed lightweight title. So why Charles Oliveira? Because Charles isn't just any opponent. He's a former champion who's still universally respected and incredibly dangerous. Beating someone of Charles' caliber doesn't just add a win to Max's record. It's a strategic power move that launches him straight into title contention. And Max knows that in today's UFC landscape, you need more than just wins. You need statement victories against elite competition. Charles Oliveira is that statement.
I mean, being the only guy to defend the BMF belt, it's cool and all, you know, but it's just another record, you know. At the end of the day, I can't sit here, relax, and smell the roses. We gotta keep going, we gotta keep trucking, you know. Now I can be the only man to defend it twice. So at the end of the day, I got history on my mind. But you know, the end goal, defending this belt is cool and all, but the end goal is the undisputed title, you know. And I believe Charles Oliveira being a very worthy opponent. You know, he was the last one to fight for a title. He was an undisputed title holder at one point. With a win over Dustin, with a win over him, if I can go out there, do a BMF moment again and get my hand raised, maybe we get me one step closer to the undisputed title.
And look at the corner.
You know, not at all. You know, everybody always asks that question. You know, with the BMF title, is there a different way? It's a fight, man. It's just another fight. You know, yeah, I think I'm a BMF in any fight I did, no title or not. You know, even in the undisputed title. So at the end of the day, no difference. I mean, you know, the opponents change for sure, but no difference at all. You know, we here. I've been in this game for a long time. I know what I gotta do. I know what Charles III.
Now listen to this part, because it reveals everything about Max's mindset going into this war. When Max talks about Charles, he doesn't fall into that trap of just focusing on the legendary jiu-jitsu. Instead, Max specifically highlights the damage Charles inflicts before fights even hit the ground. And that insight is absolutely crucial because it tells us Max knows this won't be some clean striking match. Charles isn't just dangerous when he's got you on your back, he's a menace who hurts people standing up, especially in those chaotic close quarters exchanges and scrambles. Max is preparing for violence from the opening bell. He's not expecting a technical chess match. He's ready for a F***ing war where one mistake, one moment of lost focus, can flip everything upside down in a split second.
The first thing that comes to my mind when I hear the name Charles Oliveira, you know, former champion, an animal, a killer. A lot of people talk about him in his jiu-jitsu, but he's putting guys down with his striking and then using his jiu-jitsu. So that guy's a dangerous man. You know, I got nothing but love and respect for him. But at the end of the day, March 7th, when those octagon doors close, he's just another guy. Oliveira's a killer, man. You know, that's all I can say. Everybody keep talking about jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu this, jiu-jitsu that. Go watch his tape back, bro. He's hurting guys on the feet, you know. He's hurting them with his boxing. He's hurting them with kicks, hurting them with knees, hurting them with elbows. He's hurting them in the clinch. The guy's a well-rounded fighter, you know. I think a lot of people look at him and call him a jiu-jitsu guy because of his finishes. Most of his finishes is with submissions, but that guy's hurting people on the feet. You know, he's ground and pounding people, so.
Here's the kicker, though. Max isn't sitting there claiming Charles is unbeatable, but he's acknowledging something terrifying. Charles has that predatory instinct that elite finishers possess. He's the type of fighter who will sniff out that one tiny opening, that single moment of vulnerability, and capitalize with devastating precision. If you give Charles even the slightest crack, he'll rip it wide open and end your night. This isn't about Charles being invincible. It's about the deadly consequences of even momentary lapses against someone operating at that level. And Max's preparation reflects this reality. He's training like his career depends on flawless execution for 25 minutes straight.
Just a dangerous man, you know, and those kind of things, when I think about it, brings a smile to my face, you know. These are the kind of people I want to beat. I want to beat the best guys in the world, and he's considered one of the best guys in the world right now, so like I said, I'm on my way to an undisputed title, and he's just another man in the way. I mean, you know, against Charles Oliveira, you know, you gotta keep your mistakes to a minimum, to be honest. I mean, at anybody at this level, you need to keep your mistakes at a minimum. You know, it's we're dangerous people, especially when you get to these top 5 guys, man. They always find a way. How much times we see Hail Mary punches or Hail Mary submission out of nowhere? You know, this is the best guys in the world, and they're always in the fight. They're always gonna keep on fighting, so you gotta respect every aspect of the game, and I just can't wait. Like I've been saying, I can't wait to go out there, show the octagon, and show the world what I've been working on, man. We've been working on a lot, and...
But wait, it gets even more interesting. Max dropped a subtle hint that we might see something different from him in this fight. Now, before you get excited about some complete reinvention, pump the brakes. Max isn't promising flashy theatrics or a total stylistic overhaul. His focus remains locked on one thing, getting his hand raised at the final bell. Whether that looks like the relentless, blessed Max we know and love, or if it reveals some previously unseen layers to his game, depends entirely on how this fight unfolds. What's clear is that Max has been studying Charles intensely, and he's prepared to adapt his approach based on what the fight demands. That's the mark of a true veteran, being ready for anything while staying true to your core strengths.
Very, very long time. I know ins and outs. I know what I gotta do, and I know what I need to execute to get it done in there. So I can't wait for March 7th so you guys can see the execution.
That's 3, 2, 1, go.
In this fight, you know, what I say people want to know is my ground. I think so you guys need to, a lot of people to sleep on my ground because I don't show it, you know. So maybe I get to show a little bit more ground here, maybe not. At the end of the day, I'm just going in there trying to get my hand raised, you know, trying to get a BMF moment and put my name in the drawing hat to go get an undisputed title. So you might see something new or you might see vintage Max Holloway, you know. At the end of the day, we're gonna find out come March 7th.
Now switching gears to Charles, and this is where things get fascinating. For Charles, the BMF belt isn't some marketing gimmick or novelty prize. He talks about this belt like it's tied directly to his legacy, a legitimate achievement that means something if you truly earn it through blood, sweat, and violence. But here's what's really telling: Charles didn't just stumble into this fight. He specifically asked for Max Holloway. He sought out this exact matchup and wanted the BMF belt attached to it. Think about what that means. Charles knows exactly what kind of relentless, high-octane violence Max brings, that suffocating pace, constant pressure, and willingness to engage in savage exchanges. And Charles enthusiastically signed up for all of it. He's not just ready for war, he's actively hunting for it.
And with the former champion Charles Oliveira, who will fight for the BMF belt against Max Holloway, what does this BMF belt opportunity mean for you?
E com esse campeão dos leves aqui, Charles Oliveira, que agora vai lutar pelo cinturão do BMF contra o Max Holloway. O que o BMF significa para você?
Com certeza, algo gigante, um legado. Quando você fala sobre legado, você se torna campeão do BMF, é algo gigante.
For sure, something huge. Legacy, and when you talk about, you know, being a BMF champion, that's huge for legacy.
And I know you asked for this fight against Max Holloway. How excited are you to throw down with Max? Because you both bring the fight. We know it's going to be an exciting fight. How would you describe how it's going to play out?
E a gente sabe que você pediu essa luta contra o Max e pediu esse BMF. A gente sabe que vocês dois gostam de luta, gostam de porrada, vão pra cima. Quão empolgado você ficou com essa luta?
Com certeza, 100%. Desde quando eu venho pedindo ela, eu sabia que essa luta ia acontecer. Então, com certeza, lutar contra um cara gigante como o Max vai ser muito top.
100% very excited. I knew that this fight was going to happen as soon as I asked for it. I'm very happy to fight against Max.
And get this, when Charles discusses his game plan, he reveals this incredibly dangerous mindset that separates elite fighters from everyone else. He doesn't lock himself into one rigid path to victory like amateur fighters do. Instead, he talks about hunting his opponent, staying active every single round, and being ready to finish the fight whenever that moment presents itself. For Charles, this isn't about impressing judges with flashy techniques or accumulating style points. It's about securing the win by whatever means necessary, adapting to whatever opportunities the fight creates. But here's the crucial part: Charles views this BMF clash as a stepping stone. While the belt matters to him, it's not his ultimate goal. He sees this as his pathway back to challenging for the undisputed title. That's what makes him so dangerous. He's fighting with championship desperation.
Você vai ser levantado.
Com certeza, vai ser uma grande luta, né? Tudo pode acontecer. A gente tá falando sobre MMA, eu vou caçar o tempo inteiro, ou eu vou nocautear, eu vou finalizar, eu quero vencer.
For sure it's going to be a great fight. Listen, anything can happen. It's MMA. I'm going to be hunting all the time. May not knock him out, maybe finish him, but I'm going to for sure have my arm raised.
How much is the goal to get back to that lightweight title once again?
E quão grande é o objetivo que você tem também, além do BMF, de voltar a disputar o título dos leves?
As coisas acontecem no tempo de Deus, foi como eu falei, eu precisava de uma ou duas lutas para poder lutar pelo título, e aconteceu isso, essa luta ainda agora no Rio, venci uma grande luta, e agora vou começar o ano de 2026 com mais uma grande luta, vencendo o Max Holloway com certeza, sou o próximo da frente.
Things happen in God's time. I've always said this. I figured that I needed a couple of fights to get back into the title picture. I get that great win in Rio, come out with a win. Now I have a great fight coming up, beating Max.
Hold up, because here's where the title picture gets absolutely messy, and it explains why both fighters are so motivated. According to industry insiders, while the winner of this fight will look incredibly strong and stay relevant for future big fights, a victory here doesn't automatically guarantee an immediate title shot. There are too many moving parts, too many variables in the current lightweight landscape. The division is in complete chaos right now, with multiple contenders having legitimate claims. So both Max and Charles know they need more than just a win. They need a statement performance that forces the UFC's hand. They need to be so impressive, so undeniable, that Dana White has no choice but to fast-track them to a title fight.
Oliveira and Holloway were talking about how they're going to be next for the title shot if they win. Arman Sarukian is crying at home. as we speak. Because I don't think the winner of Oliveira Holloway is going to be next for a title shot. They've got to be next for Arman. If that's happening as soon as March, I don't know if Arman's going to wait out, but they've got to be talking about the winner of that versus Arman, because otherwise they're just building this like 3-man queue to where Arman's standing at the back of it. That's just going to be like, Jesus Christ, dude. This is insane. Arman Strukin's at the back of a Bonnie Blue line right now. This is real tough for Arman. And he's there with Flowers. You know what I mean? It's a real tough situation for Arman Saru.
Here's what the UFC is really betting on with this matchup, and it's genius from a business perspective. They're not expecting clean, technical victories or safe point fighting. They want chaos. They want those electrifying highlight reel moments that capture everyone's attention and break the internet. Charles brings this incredible blend of unpredictability, relentless finishing instincts, and suffocating pressure. When you combine that with Max's legendary volume, striking, and pace, you get this undeniable recipe for violence. The UFC is essentially gambling on pure entertainment value first, hoping the title picture sorts itself out later. And honestly, that strategy makes perfect sense because both these guys are incapable of boring fights. Now here's what makes this rematch so compelling. Their first encounter was frustratingly incomplete, ending almost before it began due to an unfortunate injury. That fight never answered any of the burning questions fans had about this matchup. So this isn't about relitigating old history. This is about finally getting to see the fight that never truly happened, with the incredible twist that both fighters are now more established, seasoned, and dangerous versions of themselves. Max has evolved his game significantly since then, showing improved takedown defense and ground survival skills. Charles has become more strategic, less wild, and more calculated in his approach. We're getting the best possible version of both fighters. But here's where the psychological warfare gets really interesting. Max Holloway rarely gets finished inside the octagon. When he loses, it's almost exclusively by decision after grueling 5-round wars. That's a huge problem for Charles because his victories often depend on breaking opponents psychologically and physically rather than outlasting them over 25 minutes. If Max can absorb Charles's best shots and withstand his pressure, the entire dynamic shifts dramatically in his favor. On the flip side, Charles's last performance was absolutely dominant. He controlled that fight from start to finish, sending a clear message that he's still a legitimate threat at the top of the division. The fact that Charles dictated where that fight went against an opponent known for strong defensive grappling was genuinely impressive. Listen, the fundamental clash here comes down to one crucial question. Where does this fight take place? Charles will be desperate to get this fight to the ground where his jiu-jitsu becomes a devastating weapon. Max will do everything possible to keep it standing where his striking volume and pace give him massive advantages. That tactical battle alone creates incredible tension throughout the entire fight. Max's takedown defense and survival skills become the ultimate test. If he can stay upright and resist Charles's ground game, the fight tilts heavily his way. But if Charles can drag him down and keep him there, it could be a very long night for the Hawaiian. And here's something that's being criminally overlooked. This current version of Charles Oliveira is fundamentally different from previous iterations. He's not relying as heavily on those wild, chaotic striking exchanges anymore. Instead, he's wrestling earlier in fights, pushing guys to the fence, and controlling dominant positions on the ground. There's this expectation in any Charles fight that he'll land something massive, whether it's a knockdown, a scramble that turns into an advantage, or a close submission attempt. That feeling of impending danger is inherent to watching Charles compete. But Max has shown this remarkable ability to survive those moments. We've seen him get dropped and hurt before, yet he consistently stays composed enough to work his way back into fights. What's truly remarkable about Max's evolution is his activity and sharpness, especially at lightweight. He's not just throwing more strikes than his opponents, he's throwing them cleaner and quicker. His fluid movement, intricate combinations, and supernatural timing set him apart in this weight class. The belief is that Max will consistently touch Charles, particularly targeting the body and systematically building up rounds without needing one dramatic knockout blow. And here's a key point that gets overlooked. Max's grappling is incredibly underrated. He's not going to out-grapple Charles, but he's extremely difficult to hold down and even harder to finish with submissions. Recent fights have shown that opponents struggle to keep Max controlled for sustained periods. If Charles can't keep him stuck early, the momentum slowly shifts to Max as the rounds accumulate. So there you have it, Two elite fighters at career-defining crossroads, both knowing exactly what's on the line. Max is looking to prove he still runs the show while Charles is chasing legacy and another push toward the title. This fight has all the ingredients to be an absolute war that fans will be talking about for years. The winner doesn't just get a belt, they get momentum, relevance, and a clear path back to championship gold. What's your prediction for this clash? Drop it in the comments below and let me know who you think takes this epic battle. If this breakdown helped you understand what's really at stake, smash that like button, subscribe for more fight analysis, and hit the notification bell because the MMA world is about to get even crazier. I'll see you in the next one. But hold on, because we need to talk about something that could completely change this entire fight, the weight cut situation. And this is where things get absolutely fascinating from a strategic standpoint. Max has been competing at featherweight for most of his career, where cutting to 145 was becoming increasingly brutal on his body. Moving up to lightweight gives him this incredible advantage of not having to drain himself during fight week. He's going to be stronger, faster, and more explosive because he's not depleted from a hellish weight cut. Meanwhile, Charles has been cutting to 155 his entire lightweight career, and while he's experienced at it, Max is going to have that extra pop in his punches and that extra spring in his step that comes from proper hydration and nutrition. Here's what's really wild though, the betting odds and public perception are telling completely different stories. The hardcore MMA community is split almost down the middle on this fight, but casual fans seem to be gravitating toward Charles because of his recent highlight reel finishes. That's creating this interesting dynamic where Max might actually be getting undervalued by the general public. Smart money recognizes that Max's skill set and durability create serious problems for Charles, especially in the later rounds. But here's the kicker. Both fighters thrive when they're considered underdogs or when there's doubt about their abilities. They've built their entire careers on proving people wrong and exceeding expectations. And speaking of expectations, let's address the elephant in the room, father time. Max is 32 years old, which isn't ancient in MMA terms, but he's taken an incredible amount of damage throughout his career. Those wars with Jose Aldo, Alexander Volkanovski, and countless other killers have accumulated over the years. The question isn't whether Max can still perform at an elite level. We've seen that he absolutely can. The question is whether his chin and recovery ability are still what they were 5 years ago. Charles, at 35, is actually older than Max, but his fighting style has evolved to be more strategic and less reliant on pure toughness. He's learned to avoid unnecessary damage while still being incredibly effective. But here's where the mental game becomes absolutely crucial, and this might be the deciding factor that nobody's talking about. Max Holloway has this supernatural confidence that borders on delusion in the best possible way. He genuinely believes he's the best fighter on the planet, and that mindset has carried him through impossible situations. When he gets hurt or finds himself in trouble, he doesn't panic or turtle up, he fires back even harder. That mental toughness is going to be tested against Charles because Charles has this ability to make fights feel chaotic and unpredictable. The moment you think you have Charles figured out, he switches gears and attacks from a completely different angle. Charles, on the other hand, has developed this ice-cold killer instinct that's genuinely terrifying. When he smells blood in the water, he becomes relentless. We've seen him turn fights around in seconds when opponents make the smallest mistakes. His mental approach is almost predatory. He's constantly hunting for that one moment where he can explode and end everything. The psychological pressure he creates is immense because his opponents know that one slip, one moment of carelessness, and they're going to sleep or getting their arms snapped. That kind of constant threat changes how fighters approach every exchange. Now let's dive into something that could be the ultimate X factor, the championship rounds. If this fight goes deep into rounds 4 and 5, we might see something special from Max Holloway. Historically, Max gets stronger as fights progress while many of his opponents start to fade. His cardio is absolutely legendary, and his ability to maintain pace and power late in fights has broken countless opponents. Charles has shown good cardio in his recent fights, but he's never faced someone who brings the relentless pressure that Max delivers round after round. The question becomes whether Charles can maintain his explosive finishing ability if he's forced to work at Max's pace for 25 minutes. Here's something that's flying completely under the radar, the coaching and corner situations. Max has been working with some incredible minds in the game, and his team has clearly identified specific weaknesses in Charles's game that they believe they can exploit. They're not just preparing for Charles's jiu-jitsu and finishing ability. They're studying his patterns, his tendencies when he's tired, and the small technical details that create opportunities. Charles's corner, meanwhile, has been phenomenal at making in-fight adjustments and helping him adapt when his original game plan isn't working. The battle between corners could be just as important as what happens between the fighters. And let's be real about something. This fight is happening at the absolute perfect time for both men's careers. Max is at this crossroads where he needs to prove he can still compete with the absolute best, while Charles is trying to cement his legacy and earn another title shot. Neither fighter can afford to lose this fight without seriously damaging their future prospects. That desperation creates this incredible intensity where both guys are going to leave everything in the octagon. We're not going to see any holding back, any playing it safe, or any conservative game planning. This is going to be two killers trying to destroy each other for 25 minutes. But here's what makes this fight even more compelling from a technical standpoint: the stylistic evolution both fighters have undergone. Max has added layers to his game that we've never seen before. His takedown defense has improved dramatically, his ground game is more sophisticated, and he's developed better counter-striking abilities. Charles has become more patient and strategic, picking his spots better instead of just constantly hunting for the finish. We're getting the most complete versions of both fighters, which means this fight could play out in ways that nobody expects.